السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، إن العاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا أهل الظالمين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا وعزيمنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us another opportunity for us to be able to share meaningful knowledge within ourselves in this month of Ramadan. And inshallah, for today's section, we will take a look at the best 10 nights in the year, not just in the month of Ramadan, the best 10 nights in the year, inshallah. And we know that as Muslims, this month is one of the greatest months that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given our ummah. And no other ummah has received any type of month just like this kind of month. And the blessings and the reward and the forgiveness and the pardoning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does in this month is so grandeur, is so great that He does not do the same in any other month. So many Muslims will usually take advantage of this month, and they try as much as possible to be able to, for the most part, explain or learn what some of the benefits are in this month, and we try to do that, inshallah, in this month. And today we'll look at some of the things that we can do, inshallah, in this last 10 days that we're going to get into very soon, inshallah. So we're looking at the benefit of this day, and we're looking at what does it really mean, and how should we relate to this day, these nights that are coming through, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His infinite mercy, He has given us this month as an opportunity for us to be able to learn meaningful knowledge. And this knowledge that we learn in this month and the way we practice what we've learned goes a long way. It really goes a long way. And one of the things that we wanted to say is that for us to be able to better benefit from this month and maximize the reward in this month, especially in the last 10 days, we want to renew our intention. We know that we renewed our intention when we started the month of Ramadan. But coming into this 10 nights, it's also beneficial for us to reaffirm and renew what our intentions are. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ told us in an hadith that's narrated by Abu Huraira that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi." Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan with faith, they have faith, iman wa ihtisaban, and they're seeking reward. So for you to seek reward, it's a targeted act, it's a targeted intention, right? So that's you renewing your intention or having a focus on what you're doing. وَاحْتِسَابًا, then the Prophet ﷺ said, غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive him all of his previous sins. Imagine that, all of his previous sins. Then the hadith goes to say that the Prophet continues by saying that وَمَنْ قَامَ لَيْلَةَ الْقَدْرِ إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. And this is our point of reference here. The Prophet ﷺ also said, and whoever observed prayer in the night of Qadr, in Laylatul Qadr, Allah would forgive, and they observe that prayer with faith, and they do it expecting reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah would forgive them, that person, all of their previous sins. So we see that the Prophet ﷺ, in this hadith, he had given us a way for us to be able to get the maximum reward. Number one, we want to make sure that we plan to capture that night, all right? And we're going to talk about that in a moment. We'll plan to capture that night. And when we do capture that night, or before we capture that night, we have our faith intact. And then we do it expecting reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we do this, we should have a plan. All right, you don't intend to build a house without having a plan, right? And you don't intend to, let's say, for example, you want to drive to a location or drive to another state. You will plan your route. You determine if you're going to stop at different locations to take a rest and things like that. So when we do things, we plan, and when we better plan, inshallah, the things will come out easily. So what we're going to take a look at today would be for us to have a plan. And when we do have a plan, how do we better maximize our reward in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, inshallah. So I'm saying that we will not miss this month. We will not miss Laylatul Qadr. We will not miss Laylatul Qadr if we do at least any of this or all of these 5 items that I've listed, inshallah. We will not miss Laylatul Qadr if we do, or if we partake in all of these 5 items that I've listed, inshallah. So the first that I've listed is that we have to be optimistic. We have to be optimistic. We're all sinners, and we ask for Allah's forgiveness in this month, and especially in this last 10 nights. One of the things that we should remember is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls himself Afuwun Kareem. He is a pardoning God, he is a pardoner, and is a generous God. So it does not matter what type of sins we've committed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive those sins. His rahmah, his mercies, overcome his punishment, overcomes his anger. So we should come into this month expecting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, come into this last 10 days, expecting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us our sins, because he's a God that loves to pardon people for their sins. Now, the second thing I identified was that we have to increase in our recitation day in, day out, during the day and during the night. The reason for that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this month, Allah starts by saying that this month is the month Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr, that we have revealed the Quran in the night of Qadr, the night of power, the night of decree. All right. And if that's the main focus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, and this Laylatul Qadr falls in the last 10 nights, right? In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah tells us that Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. The month of Ramadan is the month where the Quran was revealed. However, in Surah Al-Qadr, Allah then specified that within the month of Ramadan, it falls in the last 10 nights, which we would find Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. So going into, we want to increase our recitation. Try to read the Quran as much as you can. If you cannot read the Arabic Quran, read the English Quran. Allah, you're still reading the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The translation of the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah sees your intention, he would maximize and give you all of the reward that you ask for, inshallah. The third that I want to identify, is that we want to treat all 10 nights as though it is Laylatul Qadr. The reason for that is there's a lot of hadith that shows that it could be the 27th night, it could be the 25th night, the 21st, an odd night for the most part. And the scholars would say that what if we didn't start Ramadan the right time? What if there was a miscalculation of the moon sighting and things like that? So because it's going to be a guesswork, the best route is that we take all 10 nights as though it's Laylatul Qadr, and we do a lot of ijtihad in those nights by calling Allah, making dua, reciting the Quran, take all of the nights as though it's Laylatul Qadr. And if it falls in one of the nights, you would have met one of the nights, inshallah. May Allah make it easy for us. One other thing we want to do is to increase in dua. Do not lose hope. Wallahi, do not lose hope. It does not matter what you ask for. Allah is the God that can do anything. He is a God that everything is easy for him. He had created the heavens and the earth, and he says, وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ, and he never fatigued in creating the heavens and the earth. So imagine how big and heavy and grandeur the heaven and the earth is that he created. Compare that to whatever you're asking for. There's nothing that Allah cannot do, and we should not lose hope. Allah tells us in Quran, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِن رَوْءِ اللَّهِ, do not lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِن رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ, do not lose hope in the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last that I've identified is that aside from all of these 4, you also want to make sure that during the day especially, you're doing some act of generosity. You're showing, you're helping people, you're giving, all right? And in previous lectures, I've identified that if we take if we set up an amount of money and say, okay, I'm going to donate this amount for Laylatul Qadr, because we don't know when Laylatul Qadr will fall into, you want to spread that amount out within the last 10 days. So if you gave or every day within the last 10 days of Ramadan, inshallah, you would have given in that month, in that night that falls in the night that falls as the night of Qadr, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things easy for us. Going into one of the things that I wanted to talk about, the last one would be that a prayer, because people would ask, okay, what do I do? All right. There are numerous dua that we can make. Wallahi, there are numerous dua that we can make. However, there is a recommended dua from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this dua was captured in the hadith that was narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha. She said that she had asked the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that if she's able to identify the length of Laylatul Qadr, right, what should she say in it? Ma aqulu fiha. What should I say in it? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Kuli Allahumma innaka afuwun kareem tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. In another narration, it says, Kuli Allahumma innaka afuwun, without the kareem, tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Still the same thing. That dua goes by the Prophet. The dua means that the Prophet is saying, oh Allah, say, the Prophet recommended for Aisha to say that, oh Allah, indeed you are the pardoner, or you are the pardoning God, and the Kareem would be you're the generous God. Tuhibbul afwa, you love to pardon, fa'afwani, so please pardon me. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give us a reward that's worth 83 years and some change, just by doing a lot of work in this month of Ramadan. And this is the month, I just want to emphasize that this night of Qadr, inshallah, we all will partake in it, inshallah, is the night where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change the decree. If Allah had written anything evil, in anything that we might consider to be evil in our deed for the next year, Allah can change that for us, inshallah. And whatever we ask for, we should not limit our expectation of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do, because we've identified that Allah's attributes in His sifat, Allah is higher in His sifat than any other thing. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on us, inshallah. And I'm going to open up the line now for question. If anyone has question, we will take questions, inshallah. And I really, really would encourage us to ask questions, because we never know. You might have something you want to ask and you think, well, I'm not going to talk about it now. Please ask, because we might learn a whole lot just from asking questions. And if we just think that, well, we already know it, we might have a shift in the way we perceive certain things. So I'm going to go ahead and open up and unmute everyone now. So please, I would like for everyone to ask questions, inshallah. And we can take questions. We have a lot of time, and make the lecture very, very short, so that I can give time to ask for you guys to ask questions. And Allah make it easy for us, inshallah. And you can also pose and ask your question in the chat room. We have a chat room. If you don't want to verbally ask a question, you can ask your question in the chat room, inshallah. Does anyone have a question? Assalamu alaikum. Does anyone have a question?
Ulamas, they literally talk about the fact that the last 10 days of, Laylatul Qadr, the last 10 days of Ramadan, that there are some ayahs that, some ulamas actually, quoted, that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala was specifically talking about the last 10 days. And some also said that, I know what I am talking about, Surah Al-Fajr. Like, some scholars said that that higher, is referring to the days of Ashura. And some said it's referred to the last 10 days of Ramadan, that signifies Laylatul Qadr. So can you please emphasize on that, and can you please basically clarify the fact that which one is actually the right one, and which one is not. And some also refer to, Dukhan, at the beginning of Surah Dukhan. So can you please just clarify that part? Jazakallah khairan.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So when we look at the tafsir, for example, so before I go into that, I'm gonna try to explain what that verse means, inshallah. So I'll explain your question. So the brother asked a question. May Allah have mercy on him. May Allah answer his prayer. May Allah grant your dua, inshallah. He asked a question, and the question is posed by, he asked by saying that Surah Al-Fajr in the Quran, that's Surah, I think Surah 89. Surah 89 of the Quran, Surah Al-Fajr, had the second verse of Surah Al-Fajr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, all right, and the 10 nights, So some people have asked by saying that, I see another question coming in, okay. Some people have said that those 10 nights, all right, refers to the 10th night of the month of Ramadan, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, right? However, if we look into the tafsir, for example, tafsir Ibn Kathir tells us that Layal Ashir is not the last 10 nights in the month of Ramadan. It's not the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. Like the brother quoted, if we look at a different hadith, like the brother quoted, the last 10 nights refers to the nights in what do you call it? The nights in the month of before we enter into what do you call it? Yeah, the last 10 nights before we enter into the month of the Dhul Hijjah. That's what it means. All right, not necessarily the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. Again, this goes to show that every verse, or not every verse, most verses in the Quran has what we call sabab al-nuzul, meaning the reason why the verse is revealed. The reason why the verse is revealed. So if we take a verse that's meant for Dhul Hijjah and we're saying, oh, it's in Ramadan, we're just misplacing the revelation, the meaning of the revelation that the Prophet ﷺ had received. So understanding sabab al-nuzul, which would mean the reason for a revelation to come down, that helps us better understand what that verse means and how to apply that verse. And we see many people today misappropriating or applying meaning to verses that is not really the meaning, because they just take it for, they just translate those verses based on the Arabic language. And that's not the system we use in translating verses in the Quran, inshallah. Another,
my name is Khadija.
Sister Khadija,
can you hear me?
Alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
So I've been wanting to know the distinction between, it's not a related topic, I guess.
Okay.
Tahajjud and Taraweeh. And if, because sometimes I get so tired after I break my fast, and after the Isha, I just want to sleep. So I'm thinking, is it something I can forego and pray the rak'ahs I was supposed to pray in Taraweeh, in Tahajjud?
No.
Are they substitute for each other? I just want a clarification.
Alhamdulillah, 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 Rabbil Alameen. So the sister asked a question. And the question she's asking is that Taraweeh and Tahajjud, are they different or are they the same thing? Taraweeh and Tahajjud. Do we know what Taraweeh and Tahajjud means? Okay, I don't want to just assume. Inshallah, we already understand what it means. So let me go back a little bit and try to answer the question. When we say Tahajjud is a prayer that we do after, in the night, the prayer that we do in the night. So we wake up in the middle of the night and we make some more dua, inshallah. And then nawafil, The Prophet ﷺ had said in a hadith that there is no prayer more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ba'da al-fara'id illa salatul layl. There's no prayer more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after your compulsory 5 daily prayer other than the night prayer. So after your compulsory 5 daily prayer, if you want to get a lot more reward, you do tahajjud at night.
Oh yeah.
The Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that at night, فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ. You should strive and do tahajjud, meaning observe some prayers for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. With that, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might use that to elevate the status of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam into a gracious and more praiseworthy status. What that status means is that on the day of judgment, he would be the one to do shifa. He would intercede for people. That's the meaning of the greatest status. Another meaning would be that he would be the one, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be the one to go meet Allah, because the people would go to different prophets and they would ask them to come ask for to go intercede inside of Allah. They would all decline and they would find their excuse and say no. When it comes to the Prophet ﷺ, he says, he would tell them, I was made for this. I was made for this. And he would get up and he goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah would teach him the names that no one had ever called Allah with, and he would call Allah with those names, and Allah would then come to just start the day of judgment. And we see Surah Al-Fajr where Allah says, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. All right? So tahajjud it's not a compulsory, but it's a sunnah. It's not a compulsory salah, it's a sunnah. For those that can do it, they should do it because the reward is so great. The reward in tahajjud is so great. Now, Taraweeh, it's also tahajjud. In Ramadan, we call it Taraweeh now, not tahajjud. All right? In Ramadan, it takes the place of tahajjud, we call it Taraweeh. All right? And we saw that the Prophet ﷺ started by observing Taraweeh in the masjid. The first night when he started, a lot of people came, they joined him, and they prayed. It's nawafil. He prayed only 8. He prayed only 8 rakats. And then Shafra 2 rakat and Witr 1 rakat. So in total, that becomes 10 rakats. Inshallah. In total, that becomes 11 rakat. 8 rakat for Taraweeh, 2 rakat for Shafri, 1 rakat for Witr. That becomes a total of 11 rakats. So when we go to pray, the Prophet started by praying 8 rakats and the people joined him. The second night of Ramadan, he came out, he observed Taraweeh again. A lot more people joined him. The third night he came out, a lot more people joined him. So the fourth night he didn't come out. He was like, he stayed back and said no, because he knew that this was not compulsory upon all of the Muslims. It was not compulsory. He said, well, when he was asked, he said, well, he didn't want a situation where, because they started doing that act of worship collectively, Allah would now make it compulsory upon them. So that's why he stopped it. So in the time of the Prophet, they never continued Taraweeh in the masjid, but the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, he was one that revived that sunnah. But at that time, the Prophet had passed on, and Allah would not send a message to then make it a farid anymore. So it's a sunnah. It's a beneficial sunnah. It's a sunnah that we want to uphold if we can. And we can pray within the first third of the night, or the second third of the night, or the last third of the night. The last third of the night has a lot more reward in it, inshallah. A lot more reward, because we know that that's the time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would come down to the closest heaven, and he asks us, who wants my blessing? I would bless them. Who wants my forgiveness? I can forgive them. All right. So the last third of the night is when it is beneficial for us to observe tahajjud or tarawih. we can observe Taraweeh. Some people would observe their Taraweeh 8 rakats. Their Shafi and Witr, they would postpone it till the last third of the night. So they wake up early, they observe it, and then they go eat their suhoor, you know. And however we intend to do it, may Allah make it easy for us. So it's not really different. Taraweeh and Tahajjud is the same thing. We just, Tahajjud is just called Taraweeh in the month of Ramadan. It's the same Nafla, right? And after the month of Ramadan, we don't call it Taraweeh anymore. It's Tahajjud, inshallah. And another name for it is Qiyamul Layl. Some people call it Qiyamul Layl, meaning you stand up at night to observe Salah, inshallah. I hope I've been able to answer your question, inshallah. We have a text, a chat. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So we tried, we normally would, the time would be 3 p.m. for this lecture, but we had some comment or some feedback or some questions or requests from members, and they said, oh, they would like for us to conduct it a little bit earlier for them. So we decided, since it's a Saturday, that we will be able to conduct do the lecture on 12 p.m. This way, it's 6 p.m. in Nigeria. People can attend the lecture before iftar time, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah that we're able to do this, inshallah. May Allah have mercy on us and increase us in barakah, inshallah. Any other question? Man indahu su'al?
A question someone actually asked me.
Okay.
And I think it's, gonna be beneficial, if, we as a Muslim Ummah, if we can understand, the significance of the difference between the jihad that was practiced, during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the said jihad, that, because that was how the person asked me the question, like, the people, the terrorists, the terrorists, like, are they considered Muslims? Because the way they brainwash, the youth is based on the jihad that, Sallallahu did, and some of the ayahs that was revealed to Prophet Sallallahu during the time of Badr, like those ayahs, they were, basically narrating these ayahs without explaining, the circumstance based on what you said, right? The sabab nuzul about, what happened. So, like, is that what you can probably expatiate a little bit? I know we don't have enough time, but if you can expatiate a little bit on, on that, so we'll be able to know how best to respond to these questions. Jazakallah khairan.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So the question that the brother asked, brother Abdul Rashid, we ask Allah to bless him for us, inshallah, is that the jihad that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did in his time, and what people are considering jihad today, is it the same thing? Should we look at it as the same? All right. And should we call those people Muslims? All right. Should we call those people Muslims? So it's, again, we have a responsibility to learn our religion. All right. The jihad the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did in his time, all right, was to protect the Muslim Ummah. And if I'm not mistaken, after the Prophet came from the Battle of Badr, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he then told the companions, he said, we've gone to this battle and we're back. However, we now have to face the greatest jihad. And he says the greatest jihad is jihadun nafs, meaning you strive against your flesh. Our flesh would command us to do evil. So striving against your flesh and doing the right thing instead is the greatest jihad. So if Allah had commanded us not to steal, striving against yourself from not stealing was one of the greatest jihad. If Allah had commanded us not to fornicate, striving against ourselves when we see all of these temptations outside, not to go fornicate, especially when it's so free and so easy, Striving against ourselves not to fornicate is one of the greatest jihad. So when we restrict ourselves from not disobeying Allah, that is jihad. We get double reward because we could have just gone and go do it, right? So but when we restrict ourselves from not doing those sins, committing those sins, that is sabr al-ma'siyah. We have patience, and by not committing sins, that's double jihad. That's double jihad. All right. So what jihad means is actually to strive. Jihad does not mean holy war. A lot of people in the media term it to mean holy war. Holy war, that's not Arabic language. Jihad means to strive. And it's a positive meaning. To strive against something that's evil. To strive against yourself. That's the greatest jihad. That's the greatest jihad. In this day and age, and what we see where some people claim to be Muslims, and they go on to kill other people, and they, in the name of Islam, we have to be able to understand, to explain to ourselves that in the Quran, especially, I'll go into the Quran real quick. When the two brothers that were sons of Prophet Adam alayhi salam, Habil and Kabil, when they were asked to give a qurbani, all right, the one of them gave, the other one also gave. We accepted, Allah said we accepted from one, we didn't accept from the other one. The one that his qurbani, his sacrifice was not accepted, got upset, and he fought his brother, and he killed his brother, right? He overpowered him. Then Allah brought down, helped them with the process of how they're going to bury, how he's going to bury his brother. Then Allah said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Min ajri dhalik, because of this reason, katabna ala bani Israel, were written upon the children of Israel, and not just them alone, for everybody too. For everybody, not just the children of Israel, all of mankind, because at that time it was written upon the children of Israel, but it spans through everyone. Katabna ala bani Adam, were written upon the children of Adam, ala bani Israel, upon the children of Israel, أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس, that whoever kills a soul, imagine that, whoever kills a soul بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. Whoever kills a soul unless for a soul or for corruption done on earth. Corruption done on earth would then be the government are the ones that takes care of that execution, not people taking laws into their own hand. All right, the government takes care of that process. It's as though they've killed all of mankind. So killing a soul, it's as though a person have killed all of mankind. And if we go into Surah Al-Furqan, Allah has another verse, there's a verse there where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ, those that do not worship or call upon another God except from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا يَقْتُلُونَ النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ, and they do not kill any soul. وَلَا يَقْتُلُونَ النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ, they do not kill any soul except by right. All right, that right means in place of self-defense. You are in your home, someone comes to attack you and your family, and you try to defend your family. In that process, you kill that person. That's self-defense. Someone came into your house to attack you, to kill you, to steal from you, or whatever. You are allowed to defend yourself. But for you to go outside and go kill innocent people that have not done nothing to you, that's a huge sin. And we have to be fearful of that. We really have to be fearful of that because in the day of judgment, a soul that's killed, a person that's killed will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment holding their head in one hand. This person that's killed, that's murdered, will hold their head in one hand. And you see all the blood dripping from it. And the person that killed them, they would hold that person in the second hand and they would drag that person to the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They would drag the person to the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now the question will be asked, oh Allah, ask this person, why did he kill me on earth? What did I do wrong? I don't even know this person. And the person decided to blow me up. What would happen is that all of the sins of the person that was murdered will be given to the person that murdered them. And the person that murdered somebody else, if they have any good in their deeds, it will transfer to the person they've murdered. So guess what? They just rip them off their al-Jannah. And that person that was murdered gets al-Jannah because they got murdered. Now they're going to take all of that other person's sin. All right? All of that person's sins. In Islam, we are not ordered to murder people or to kill people. When the Prophet ﷺ went to go do jihad, he went to go call people into Islam before he traveled into Medina. The people of that city, they stoned him. He was bleeding so badly. The companion that went with him was also stoned. At that time, an angel came down and asked the Prophet, just give me the word. I will turn this city upside down and kill all of them. I will turn it upside down and kill all of them. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, don't do that. Maybe in the future, children from their generation would accept Islam. That is the kind of mercy we should show to other people. Because a person is not a believer, or for whatever reason, that does not mean that we treat them like rubbish. They are a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we treat them with dignity and respect. We treat the creation of Allah, be it human or an animal, with dignity and respect. So no one has the right to go kill any other soul. No one has that right. And I hope that I'll be able to answer that question, inshallah. May Allah make it easy for us, inshallah. Yeah, I know it's getting close to the time for iftar right now in Nigeria, so may Allah make it easy for us. I hope that I've been able to touch on some of the points, and I can identify some practical steps for us to take to be able to maximize our benefit in this month of Ramadan. I just want to reiterate that again, whenever we make dua, let us be optimistic. In this last 10 nights of Ramadan, let us be optimistic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the God that can pardon us, and He is the God that can forgive us all of our sins, and He can change what our decree is to whatever we ask for that's better for us, inshallah. And because this month is the month where the Quran was revealed from Law al-Mahfuz to Baytul Izzah, we want to increase our recitation of the Quran in this month, especially in this last 10 days. Because for whatever letter we recite, a letter is just like Alif or Lam, for example, Allah would give us at a minimum 10 rewards just for reciting it. Imagine if you were able to complete the entire Quran in this last 10 nights that we're going to go into, inshallah. The rewards are just out of this world, So let's try as much as possible to increase our recitation, inshallah. And let's treat all the 10 nights as though it's the night of Ramadan, Laylatul Qadr, because we cannot really identify which night Laylatul Qadr will fall into. So let's treat all of the nights as though it's Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. And again, let's increase in dua. Let's increase in dua. One of the duas that we can make is the dua that the Prophet ﷺ taught Aisha radiallahu anha by saying, Allahumma innaka afuwun kareemun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni, aw Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. That's, oh Allah, you're the God that pardons. You love to pardon people. You're the pardoner. You love to pardon people, and you're the generous God. So please pardon me, inshallah. And we should also try and endeavor to follow up with good deeds. You know, craft a plan, have a plan where you will give out things in this month of Ramadan constantly without wasting time, please. Okay, a question just came in, and the brother is asking, I want to ask if I can recite the translation of the Quran if it's acceptable. So inshallah, the Quran was revealed in English, in Arabic, astaghfirullah. The Quran was revealed in Arabic, right? The best route would be for us to recite in Arabic. However, if we cannot recite the Quran in Arabic, we can recite the translation of the Quran. This also goes to our sisters that are in their monthly cycle where they cannot, read the Quran, right? You cannot hold the Quran and things like that. The scholars have said that they can recite the translation of the Quran, and inshallah, Allah sees their intention that if that was not the case, they would have read the actual Quran, the actual Arabic Quran. If it's a case where the person cannot read the Arabic Quran, they can read Arabic, they can also read the translation of the Quran. And inshallah, Allah will give them all of the reward that's in it, inshallah. Because the intention is what Allah is looking for. Niyatul mu'min khairu min amali. Your intention is better than your actions that you actually carry out. So when your actions, when you have a pure action or your pure intention, if you purify your intention, inshallah, Allah will give you the reward too, inshallah. So again, let's just try to, inshallah, engage in a lot of good deed in this last 10 days. There are a lot of Islamic organizations that are looking for help. Let us donate. People that are looking for food, help them out, give food. People that are homeless, if you can help with giving them clothes or whatever you can do in this last 10 days that we're going into, please endeavor to do it. There are a lot of organizations that are trying to build up their programs. You can donate through Zelle, you can donate through, they have different platforms where you can receive donations. Please donate, even if it's $10 or 10 Naira, whatever you have. Do not let any day go by in the last 10 nights of Ramadan without giving, because when you give, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you. Do not look at it as though you don't have enough. The Prophet had told us that we cannot get poor because we gave out. We will not get poor because we gave out. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things easy for us, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our dua in this month of Ramadan. And in this last 10 nights of Ramadan, we ask him, if our names were written among those that would enter into hell, may he expunge our names from those that would enter into hell and admit us and write our names among those that would enter into Al-Jannah, inshallah. We ask him by virtue of his mercy and by virtue of the fact that all the doors to hell, to the hellfire has been closed, and the doors to Al-Jannah are open. May he admit us into Al-Jannah, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our affairs easy, to draw us closer to him. And after the month of Ramadan, we ask him not to let us go. May he hold us so close that we're constantly reminded of him. When we call on him, we'll make dua, and we're also looking for things to do that bring us close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our family members, our siblings, our parents, our children, for him to constantly increase us in piety, inshallah, for him to constantly make our affairs easy, inshallah, and whatever good we've done in this month, may he increase it for us. Whatever mistake or evil we've done, may he pardon us and forgive us, inshallah. And those that are sick within the ummah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them shifa. We don't know them. You, Allah, you know them. And you're the Ashib al-Bas. You're the God that take away evil or take away sickness. Rabb al-Nas. You're the God of mankind. Ashfi anta shafi. We ask you to heal them because you are the healer. La shafiya illa shifa'uk. And there's no healer except your type of healing. There's no proper healing except your type of healing. Shifa'an la yughaddir sakma. Healing that does not leave any sickness untouched. And we are in the period of coronavirus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal all of the Muslims and heal all of the people in this world. And we ask him to eradicate this coronavirus. We know that it's a test from him. We ask for forgiveness, and we ask for our full, for him to pardon us and eradicate and take away all of this coronavirus, inshallah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك سبحانك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. مع السلامة.